Howdy, my name is Nonat, and welcome to the second part of the Domain Spell episode of the Pathfinder Spellbook. So it's been a while since I've recorded the last part. I took my week off of making videos, and since then a lot of stuff has happened. As you can see, my background has changed. My audio quality's probably not quite as good as it was before, and for that I apologize. It's a little echoey in here, but hopefully I'll get that figured out in the future. I just wanted to get another video out for you guys, so apologies for the audio. We have another, 24 spells to get through, maybe a dozen and a half, so let's just jump right into it. Also, if it sounds like I'm talking in my lower register, it's because when I talk lower, it echoes a little bit less than if I talk up here. And if I talk up here, it echoes a lot more. So we're gonna stick to the lower register for this video, alright? Let's do this. Starting off with the luck domain, we have Bit of Luck. And this is a really handy, almost always useful spell. You choose a target, and for 1 minute, they get advantage on their next saving throw. I keep saying advantage, like this is 5th edition. You give a target a bit of luck, and on their next saving throw, in 1 minute, it only lasts 1 minute, if they roll their saving throw, they get to roll 2 d20s and take the higher number. That's the advantage system from 5th edition, but here, it's much less common. So yeah, it's a decent spell, you throw 2 dice, you get 2 attempts at the same saving throw. It's really good if you know they're about to try something. If the thief is about to pick a lock, or the fighter is about to climb a cliff, it's good to cast there. It can be helpful in combat, I suppose, but, I feel like in a normal encounter, every player will likely use at least 1 saving throw. You can only have it on 1 person at a time, so don't think you can Bit of Luck everyone, all 3 different party members, because you can only have 3 focus points. Don't think you can cast it on everybody at the start of a fight, unfortunately. If you cast Bit of Luck again, the previous target loses it. But not a bad spell, it's very malleable, very versatile, that's the word, malleable. 4 out of 5 stars, just for sheer availability and usefulness. Oh, this one is weird. So the Domain of Magic has Magic's Vessel. You choose a target, and that target becomes a receptacle for pure magical energy sent by your deity. What that means is they get a +1 bonus to all saving throws, not bad. And whenever you cast a spell using spell slots, so this will only work for clerics, this really will do nothing for a champion, because champions don't get spell slots. You automatically sustain this spell, Magic's Vessel, and grant its target resistance to damage from spells until the start of your next turn, equal to the level of the spell you cast. Let me make this simpler. You cast this on your fighter. Your fighter now has +1 to saving throws for 1 round. Also, you cast a level 2 heal spell. Your fighter, until the end of your next turn, until the start of your next turn, also gets 2 spell resistance until the start of your next turn. Because you cast the level 2 spell, because the fighter is affected by Magic's Vessel, they gain 2 spell resistance. Even when I'm trying to simplify this, it sounds so overcomplicated. Basically, you have to keep casting spells to sustain this spell. You can also sustain it manually, but you just won't get the spell resistance. Basically, once you cast this, you want to cast spells each round to sustain it automatically and grant your target spell damage resistance. It's really complicated, and I'm gonna dock points for that, but it's a cool idea. It's this nice symbiotic relation, not really symbiotic, but it's this nice automatic support. If you're fighting a magic-heavy enemy, you throw this on one of your party members and leave them to their own devices until they really need healing, and it'll mitigate some of the damage, It's not bad. I feel like it's one of the better focus level 1 spells that scales into the late game, because if you cast a level 6 or 7 spell, that's 6 or 7 spell damage resistance on the target. It's not bad. +1 to saving throws is never something to sneeze at, so 3 out of 5 stars. Athletic Rush from the Might domain is situational, but kinda cool. Your body fills with physical power and skill. Basically, you get a 10-foot speed boost, and +2 to athletics. And when you cast the spell, you can move for free. So that's not bad. You could also jump or climb for free. You can also swim if you want to. So this is really, really good for if you need to move quickly. It's sort of just you spend your focus point to buff your next move action. You can only cast it on yourself. You can't cast it on anyone else. But it's kind of cool, if you see a sharp cliff face, or you need to catch up to a fleeing enemy, you can cast this for that quick 10-foot bonus on your move. It's not gonna it's not gonna save your, well, I guess it could save your life. I don't know, it's not bad. It doesn't let you ignore difficult terrain, which is kind of unfortunate, but it's not terrible. I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars, just because I don't think it's bad enough to warrant a 2-star. It's simple, buff your next move action, or your next athletics check. It's not bad. Moonbeam for the Moon domain is very interesting. Effectively, it's just a 1d6 fire damage, 120-foot range spell attack. If you hit them, they actually become dazzled for a round, and if you crit them, they take double damage and become dazzled for 1 minute. And of course, off the top of my head, I know what dazzled does. Come on, what do you take me for? Right, so dazzled is, it conceals all creatures from you. That's really good. If someone's concealed, you have to roll a flat 50% check to even be able to hit them. So if you just hit the target with Moonbeam, you've instantly lowered their accuracy by 50% for a full round. And if you crit them, that's effectively for the rest of the encounter. That is a really good focus spell. The icing on the cake is that the damage counts as silver, which I don't really know why that matters. I feel like magic damage isn't usually resisted by, like, werewolves, because werewolves are the thing you think of when you think of silver damage, or, like, ghosts. But to my knowledge, they don't usually have spell resistance. I keep wanting to say magic resistance, but, but it could be cool. Oh, but werewolves take bonus damage, so the silver damage of Moonbeam will do extra damage to werewolves. So not only will it do the normal damage from being a spell, but it'll also increase the damage to the weak. That's cool. Yeah, no, I like Moonbeam. Every 2 levels, it increases by 1d6. It's not a bad spell, If it got your spellcaster modifier onto the damage, it'd be a little bit better. But not too bad. Not too shabby. The Dazzling, really seals it. 5 out of 5 stars. Can't go wrong here. Vibrant Thorns are underwhelming. You basically give yourself thorns, and if anything attacks you in melee, either with a weapon or a fist, or a fist attack, an unarmed strike, they take 1 damage. Now, if you cast a healing, I shouldn't say a healing spell, a positive spell, there's positive damaging spells. If you cast a positive spell, your thorns grow from the excitement of positive energy, because I think it says they thrive on life magic. They grow and sharpen, and that 1 damage is increased to 1d6 damage, which means it can still deal 1 damage, which kind of sucks. But that's it, really, I mean, I guess if you're playing a cleric, and especially if you're a support cleric and you got guys on top of you, it's pretty easy. This is a 1-action spell. You can cast, like, a heal spell right afterwards, growing those thorns, and it just sort of helps defend yourself. It would be hilarious if something died to this. And every 2 levels, the flat damage goes up by 1, so effectively it'll always be dealing your spell level of damage back to them. But the excited thorns goes up by a whole d6, so that's not terrible. It lasts 1 minute. It's a 1-action spell. It's sort of a passive thing after that. You don't need to sustain it. So at level 3, 2d6 to something that's attacking you, that's actually pretty good. This is, as I've reviewed it here, I've actually started to like it more and see more use for it. I'm going to give it 3 stars. I was thinking about 2 stars, but now that I'm thinking about the level 3 and the level 5, like 3d6 at level 5, just as passive spike damage, not bad at all. Could even be good on, like, a melee War Priest cleric. Waking Nightmare isn't bad. It's the Nightmare's domain. You make them make a will save, and if they fail, they're frightened 2. If they succeed, they're frightened 1. And if they critically fail, they're frightened 3. Little cool bit of flavor is that if you cast this on someone who's sleeping and they fail, they start fleeing as well. Which is kind of weird. I guess it's because they think they're in a waking nightmare, it's the name of the spell. I guess it's because they think their nightmare is real, so they start running away, but it's weird that they would run away when they wake up from being asleep, but they wouldn't run away when they're not asleep. It's weird. Frightened is, oh my god. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, my pop filter on my microphone, it's a beanie. High technical. But frightened is a good condition, The level of frightened is just a flat penalty on all all rolls, really. Saving throws, attacks, skill checks. It's a -2 everything, which is really good. So, being able to inflict fright into 2 isn't bad. It's a nice control. Unfortunately, it's only on 1 creature, so I don't know if it's quite worth 2 actions. If they crit fail, I guess it's kind of cool that they get -3 to everything, but it just goes down every turn. Probably not worth it, in my opinion. You just don't get enough back from your investment in the spell. So I'm going to give it a 2-star just because it's a little bit underwhelming. Frightened is a great condition. This is just a little bit too difficult of a way to apply it, and it doesn't apply enough of it. Savor the Sting can be good, and it can be awful. It's a touch spell, so you're already getting in harm's way, so it's probably more for a War Priest. It's for the Pain domain. But you deal 1d4 mental damage, and 1d4 persistent mental damage, so not too bad. But they make a will save for it. If they succeed on their will save, they take half damage, which is usually going to be 1 or 2 at best. And the persistent damage doesn't even happen. If they fail, they take the normal and the persistent, and if they crit fail, they take double the initial damage, and they continue taking the persistent damage. I don't believe the persistent damage gets doubled. That is not super clear. I don't think it does. Because I don't think you can ever increase persistent damage based on a crit. But if the target is taking the persistent damage, you get a +1 bonus to attack rolls and skill checks against them. So it's kind of a neat little bonus they sort of slid in there. Makes them a little bit easier to hit, makes them a little bit easier to, I guess, like intimidate or coerce in some way, which would be hilarious if you stung them with the spell and then tried to coerce them because you get a +1 to it. But yeah, pretty simple, not bad. Like I said, if they keep failing their will save, that persistent damage will stack up. It goes up by 1d4 base and 1d4 persistent every 2 levels, so it's pretty good. It'll never be massive damage, but if you get lucky and they fail their will save enough, that'll be a nice little chip damage over the course of a battle. Charming Touch, the super nerfed charm person from the Dungeons and Dragons of old. Charming Touch is a touch spell, obviously, and effectively you touch someone and they make a will save. If they fail, they're friendly towards you. It doesn't matter if they hated your guts. If they fail their will save, they are friendly. However, if they did hate your guts, they get a +4 to their bonus. I mean, not even necessarily if they hated you, but only if they were threatened or hostile towards you. So if there's this really shady guy who kind of hates you, but isn't, like, fighting you in any way, you can Charming Touch them, and if he fails his save, he's friendly towards you. Now, it's worth noting that friendly doesn't mean die for you. He won't give you his life savings, but it's pretty cool, you know? They just become friendly, they become like a normal NPC. It could get weird if you, like, charm a bandit, and then they see their bandit friends attacking you, but they're friendly towards you, and it's supposed to last for 10 minutes. It can get really, really confusing. And obviously the spell ends if you take hostile actions against it, or you can even dismiss it, which is interesting. If they succeed their save, they'll be unaffected, and they'll know you tried something, but they won't know exactly what it was. And if they crit succeed their save, they are fully aware that you just tried to charm them. Have fun with that. On a crit failure, the target goes 1 step above friendly to helpful, and will actually try to aid you. Again, this doesn't mean they'll die for you or give you all their belongings, but if you ask them for a few gold for dinner, they might be like, there you go, take it, it's all yours. I don't know why I went to that accent, it's fine. But it's a fun roleplay spell. It's a cool way to just twist your DM's plans on their head. I would know, I've been that DM before. But it's fun being able to manipulate emotions. This is for the Passion domain, by the way, so 3 out of 5 stars. It's not something that you're going to use every single session, but it's kind of fun. It's fun when you do get to use it. Perfected Mind is kind of lame from the Perfection domain. It's just, the long and short of it is, if you failed a will save and are now afflicted by something, you can cast Perfected Mind to make that will save again. Not as a reaction, not as like a second chance to make the will save, but if it's a continuous effect and it comes back to your turn, you can spend an action to make the will save again to get rid of it. Like, this can be good if you've got something really debilitating and you just barely missed, like, an easy save. It'd be nice to just get rid of it. Like, against Savor the Sting that we talked about before. If you've got that 1d4 persistent mental damage and you failed your initial will save, well, before the end of your turn, where that persistent damage would hit, you can cast Perfected Mind to try to get rid of it beforehand. But that's sort of that's all it does. It doesn't have any extra, it doesn't help anyone else out, it doesn't have any ulterior effects. It's just reroll a will save that you failed, and only if it's a persistent effect. So what it does, it's good at, but that's all it does. I guess I'm docking points for being too specific. Maybe that's unfair of me, maybe that's not a cool way to rate it, but I'm gonna. 3 out of 5 stars. I'm giving everything a 3 out of 5 star, which, to be fair, this second half of domain spells are a lot better than the first half. Like, even looking through these before I recorded this, I'm like, wow, these are overall at least a lot more average than the ones in the first half. But yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. It's just boring. I think that's the thing. It's just boring. It just says, no. Let me roll that again. Okay, I failed. I succeeded this time. I don't know. 3 out of 5. Moving on. Protector's Sacrifice is neat. I like this spell because it's a reaction, which reactions are great. I love reactions in 2nd edition. I love that you only get one, and for some classes, like clerics, who don't usually get reactions, it's cool to get something you can do when it's not your turn. That's one complaint I do have about the reactions, is that attacks of opportunity in other systems are something that anyone can do, but only paladins and fighters get attacks of opportunity in 2nd edition. There might be a general feat for it. I don't think so, though. So it's cool to gain abilities you can do off your turn. It just increases your ability on the battlefield. It lets you do more. But Protector's Sacrifice from the protection domain, it's a reaction. Any ally within 30 feet, which is great, if they take damage, you reduce their damage taken by 3 and deal it to yourself. This is so good. Like, if you're the cleric in the back, and you're 30 feet away from your fighter, who just took an 8-point damage strike, and you're at full health and he's at half, you can be like, no, baby, let me take 3 of that damage for you. It's only 3, but that adds up, It's a reaction, so you can do this every round. You can take a little bit of damage yourself to increase the survivability. If you thought of it this way, I feel like, if you think of it as reaction, lose 3 health, to restore 3 health to an ally, that would be insanely good. This is only balanced because it's only when your ally takes damage, but if you could sacrifice your own health to heal an ally as a reaction, that would be insanely overpowered. The fact that this damage goes up by 3 every 2 levels, it might even save a life, Level 5, you're reducing their damage taken by 9? That's a lot of damage. It's not overkill. Might not save them from a one-hit kill, but around level 5, everyone has about 40 to 60 health, and so if you can basically stop them from taking almost a quarter of their health in one hit, that's a really good reaction. 5 out of 5 stars. I love this. So, how I said that these are better than the first half of the spells? Not all of them. Forced Quiet from the Secrecy domain sucks. It is a 2-action spell that requires a Fortitude saving throw. If they fail their saving throw, they are quieted for 1 minute, which sounds really good on paper, until you read the actual description of the quiet, which means they are quiet so that creatures more than 10 feet away can't hear them. So if you're in a group and you're trying to stop someone from spilling secrets, you could be forced quiet, and it stops them from talking. And they even add, it's not even a verbal component. It's material and somatic. So you can cast this silently. But if you're in a group, and the group is 10 feet away from them, they can still hear them. Plus, they'll be talking quiet, and they'll be like, why are you talking quiet? And they'll be like, I don't know, something's wrong. I can't talk about what's going on. And that'll just cause unrest. This doesn't help. The first thing I thought during this would be this would be cool in a courtroom scene where there's a witness in the stands who could stand up and say something, and you cast Force Quiet on them secretly. So for the next 10 minutes, they can't pipe up. That'd be really cool. But they still can, and they can still wave their arms and do somatic things to get attention. I don't see a use for this. I love it. Thank you in the comments, people who will point out but if you, one of my favorites was the person who said that pushing Gust is great if you see someone on, a guard on top of a tower, and you shove them off the tower. That's really rad. I don't think about things like that all the time. So if you can think of a place where Forced Quiet is good, let me know. I suppose you could cast it on you and your allies, or if you have just a really loud ally, you could quiet them down. But overall, yeah, and different successes and crits, fails and succeeds, just change the duration it lasts. So, and you can only cast it once every 24 hours on the same target. I don't know. 1 out of 5 stars from me. Try to convince me otherwise. I love it when you do. Dazzling Flash is really good. It's really good. It's a 15-foot cone in front of you. Everything makes a fortitude save, including allies, so don't hit your allies with it. And at 5th level, it increases to a 30-foot cone, which is massive. If they fail their fortitude save, they are dazzled for 1 minute. That is pretty much I like to think of 1 minute as the entire encounter. Think about being dazzled for an entire encounter. Every time you have to roll an attack roll, you have to roll a flat 10 or higher, 11 or higher. Because that's how that's how concealed works. Because when you're dazzled, all creatures are concealed. You can see them, but they're really, really blurry. So you have to roll a d20, and sometimes the DM will roll it for you. And you have to roll 11 or higher flat to even make your attack. Otherwise, you just completely shoot in the wrong direction. The fact that this one focus spell can affect multiple creatures, and just a normal failure is dazzled for 1 minute, is nuts. If they crit fail, they're dazzled for an hour. That's absolutely nuts. Fail and crit fail, they're blinded for 1 round, which is cool. You know, blind is neat. I need to stop playing with my dice. I just got new dice, by the way. I love these dice, dude. They're awesome. Yeah, even on a crit fail, they're only blinded for 1 round. The blind isn't what you do this for, though. You do this for the dazzle. That's so good, man. 5 out of 5 stars. That was for the sun domain, by the way. I forgot. Agile feat for the travel domain. This is sort of just a different take on Athletic Surge from earlier. It only gives you a plus 5-foot bonus to your speed this turn, but it lets you ignore difficult terrain. So it's sort of a lot like Unimpeded Step. I believe that was the Liberator's reaction for champions. It's very similar, but you can do it to yourself instead of an ally. So yeah, you get a 5-foot boost to your movement speed, you can ignore difficult terrain this turn, and you get a free movement. So, you know, for 1 action, you cast it and you just book out of there. If you are on like a rocky area where everyone's having to carefully step and you're surrounded by enemies, you can cast this and just get out of there. And they can't follow you. They're moving at half speed on the difficult terrain. So yeah, I mean, I have to give it the 3 stars, same as I gave Athletic Surge. You know, it's basically the same thing, but for a different situation. It's pretty good. Sudden Shift, it's another reaction for the Trickery domain. It's less useful because of its trigger. You're allowed to swiftly move. You take the step action, which is a 5-foot step in any direction, doesn't provoke attack of opportunity, and you become concealed. So anyone who tries to attack you has to make that 50% roll we were talking about earlier, you know? 50% chance to just miss you completely. The problem is the trigger. It's not when an enemy attacks you, it's when an enemy misses you. So, you know, you take this step and you become concealed, but the enemy already missed you, you know? You can't cast this before you're hit, so if they hit you, you can't even use it. So, I don't know, if you're surrounded by enemies and the first one misses you, that's really good. That increases your survival chances a lot. But if it was just the trigger of when they make an attack on you, it would be so much better. I think I need to give this a 2-star, because it's just not great. It only lasts until the end of your next turn, so if you're close coming up on the turn order, it's not even going to last that long. Like, if your turn just ended and the person after you triggered this, that's good. You're concealed for the whole next round. But that's not usually going to be the case, I don't think. So, I don't know. 2 out of 5 stars. I got to give some of these bad ratings, and I think this is one of them. It's just not reliable enough. The Truth Domain's Word of Truth, I love it. I love a good RP focus spell. It's never going to be used in combat, typically. But effectively, you just say something, 25 words or fewer, and when you say it, a symbol of your deity glows above your head. A symbol of your deity basically shines, and I don't know exactly how this works, but it effectively just says, anyone who sees you and hears your statement knows that you believe it to be true. So what you say has to be true to your character. It can be wrong, but your character has to believe it to be true. So even if what they believe to be true is wrong, like, you could have your cleric say, the earth is flat. And there might be the divine glow above you because your character truly believes it. It's wrong. Please don't unsubscribe if you're a flat earther. I love you. But they believe it to be true. So it's cool. You can do some fun stuff with it. You can sustain it up to a minute and keep saying different things. It's really neat. It's a cool way to convince someone that you're not lying to them. And I like it. You could even play that like, I swear I will not hurt you. And then, it glows. And then later on, your barbarian beats the crap out of them, and you go, well, I didn't hurt you. And so you can have some fun loopholes with this. The RP with this spell is freaking divine. Because they're domain. Moving on. 4 out of 5 stars. Have you ever wanted to be like Harry Potter with the Imperio spell where you can control someone's actions? Well, the Tyranny domain has the spell for you. Touch of Obedience. It sucks. You touch them and they attempt a will save. If they fail their will save, they're stupefied 1 until the end of your next turn. So effectively for 1 round, they get a -1 to wisdom and charisma checks, I believe intelligence as well, and they have to make a flat 5 or higher, 5 plus the stupefied amount check to cast a spell successfully. So, you have to get into touch range, you touch them, and if they fail their saving throw, they get a slight, tiny inconvenience to their intelligence checks for a round, and maybe they'll fail their spell. But it's like a 75% chance they'll still succeed. Oh, but don't worry, if they crit fail, they're stupefied for 1 minute. But it's still stupefied 1! Why is this called Touch of Obedience? It doesn't make any sense! Why? I don't understand. I feel like something was lost here. Like, Touch of Obedience, what does that mean? Oh, it means they have a harder time casting spells. Genius. I don't know. I don't like this spell. I feel like it's super weak. The champion's reaction as a redeemer, Glimpse of Redemption, has the same thing if you get the feat. There's a fly in here. So, I don't know. I mean, the only upside is even if they succeed their save, they're still stupefied until the end of your current turn. So I guess you can cast this, and then if you have something that requires a will save to follow through with it, this is like a full action to give them -1 on their save. It's not good. 1 out of 5 stars. This is the worst one we've reviewed so far. Touch of Undeath. The Undead domain. It's a cool idea. It's a little underpowered in my opinion. You attack the target's life force with Undeath, dealing 1d6 negative damage, and they attempt a fortitude save. It's a basic fortitude save with some bonuses, so if they succeed, it's half damage. If they crit succeed, it's no damage. If they fail, it's normal damage, and they can only heal half as much as normal for 1 round, which isn't bad. The crit fail is pretty good. They take double the damage, and they can only heal for half as much as normal for 1 minute. It is worth noting that this healing is only halved for positive effects. I don't know why you would cast this on an undead target, because it's negative damage. It would just heal the undead. But if you cast it on someone who can heal from negative, healing from negative is not halved. Only positive healing is halved. And every 2 levels, the damage increases by 1d6. It's kind of the weakest offensive spell we've seen so far from the focus spells, and on top of all that, it's a touch spell. I feel like this could be balanced just by adding the spellcasting modifier to it. Let them add their wisdom or their charisma to it. It's just not strong enough. The damage is low. I guess it's cool for healing an undead creature. It's got that if you're playing an undead campaign. I guess. I don't know. 2 out of 5 stars. It's just too weak for a touch spell. If a spell requires you to be in melee and make a touch attack, there needs to be a reward for that. You know what I mean? 3 left. And what might be my least favorite focus spell of every domain. Let's take a look, shall we? The water domain's Tidal Surge. For 1 action, you can push a target 5 feet. If they fail. You cause a wave to appear, shoving a target in any direction. If it's on the ground, and they fail their fortitude save, they're pushed 5 feet. If they critically fail their fortitude save, they're pushed 10 feet. They're not knocked prone or anything. They don't take damage. If they normal succeed, nothing happens. The only other benefit to this is if you cast it in the water, you can push them double the amount. So 10 feet on a fail and 20 feet on a crit fail. That is all this spell does. That's it. It doesn't do anything else. It doesn't... Why is this so weak? I made fun of Pushing Gust last episode. This makes Pushing Gust look like a level 6 spell. At least Pushing Gust can knock things prone. Why doesn't this knock prone? It's a giant tidal wave. Oh, 0 stars. 0 stars for Tidal Surge. It's that bad. It's not worth the 1 action it costs. It's half the range of Pushing Gust was... Hold on. No, Pushing Gust was 500 feet. Dude, like, Tidal Wave, you are at 1/10 the range. Why are you so bad? Get out of here. You don't count as a divine... You don't count as a domain spell. Get out of here. You don't exist. Appearance of Wealth for the Wealth domain. This is a cool spell. Can even be used in combat against the right opponents. You create a brief vision of immense wealth filling the spell's area. Every creature within 20 feet that can be enticed by the material wealth must attempt a will saving throw. If they enter the area, they automatically disbelieve it, and disbelieving it cancels any of the effects. But if they fail their save, they're fascinated by the illusion. And fascinated is sort of like... Think Raging for Barbarians, where you can't use Concentrate traits, but instead of bonuses, you just get a -2 to a bunch of stuff. Perception checks, certain skill checks, and like I said, you can't use concentration trait skills. Surprisingly, there's no crit fail effect, which is kind of weird. If they succeed their save, they are fascinated for 1 turn, which is kind of cool. But then on its next turn, once it completes its first action, it wears off. And then if they crit succeed, they're not affected at all. So it's a cool idea, you know? Like, I'd love to see, I mean, if someone did this, and I was DMing, I would make the other players make the will save as well, just cause, I mean, you know, they're there, like, especially if there's a rogue in the party, I would make the rogue roll to try not to be fascinated by the wealth. But it's cool, you know? It's not powerful. I don't think it's worth 2 actions to do this, to effectively nullify someone's concentrate traits for, like, a round. But it's still cool. I really, really like it. 3 out of 5 stars. It's not that useful, but it's a fun spell. The final domain spell. Oh, we're almost done. Let's do this. Zeal domain. We're ending on a cool note. Holding your weapon aloft, you fill it with divine energy. On your next strike with that weapon before the start of your next turn, so effectively you have to use it this turn, you gain +1 to the attack roll, and your weapon deals an additional damage die. That's really freaking good for a level 1 weapon. Like, if you have a broadsword, bastard sword, I think it's a 1d10, and you cast Weapon Surge, you're attacking for 2d10 at level 1 with a +1 to hit. That's so good. You can think of it as spending an action to attack twice at once, which you don't take the -5 attack penalty. So think about that. If you want to attack twice, your second attack always takes a -5. Well, not always, but most of the time takes a -5. If you cast Weapon Surge first, you're effectively attacking twice. Sure, you only get to add your strength modifier once, but you're still nearly doubling your damage. And not to mention, if you critically hit with this attack, you are doubling both of those damage die. That is like critting on 2 separate attacks. That is so good. This is the perfect focus spell for your War Priest. If you're going in guns blazing, you're crushing things. It's great on a champion too. 5 out of 5 stars. Just, it's what everyone wants True Strike to be. You know what I mean? It's a small bonus to hit, massive bonus to damage. So good. I love that we're ending on such a strong note. And that is all of the initial domain spells available to champions and clerics at first level in Pathfinder 2nd edition. We did it, guys! Now, for the possible future where I have to go back through these and do the upgraded domain spells. That's for another day. We're gonna end it off here, guys. Thank you for watching. If you watch this whole thing, thank you so much. Remember to subscribe if you enjoyed it and ring the bell to know when the next video goes live. This should be coming up on Tuesday, I think, which means Thursday you guys should be getting the next guide, which I believe is Druids, which I'm excited for, because I have procrastinated and I haven't read much about Druids. So, I'm excited, you're excited. I will see you guys on Thursday for the Druid guide. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, no nat ones.